Well, let's get to our first topic of discussion this afternoon. The world is increasingly shifting towards diversified economic structures, and Nigeria's focuses on non-oil sector is beginning to bear fruits. Now, in 2024, industries such as leather, goods, fashion, agro-processing, and tourism emerged as significant players in the country's economy. That with the government policies, private sector innovations, and global demand aligning with these sectors are poised to lead the charge in 2025. This analysis, backed by data and informed projections, goes deeper into the performance and challenges of this. For example, the leather industry, long recognized for its high quality and, of course, hide-on skins, is undergoing a renaissance. As of 2024, it contributed approximately $272 million in export revenue, with major markets including Italy, Spain, China. Nigerian leather is often referred to as the gold of Kano. Is renowned globally and particularly for its quality goat skin and sheepskin. Well, this is just one of the many sectors we can tap into. Let's talk to Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, lead consultant and CEO of 3T Impex Trade Academy. He's famously called Export Doctor, renowned author, international business coach, keynote speaker, and international business development expert. He's an outstanding AFCFTA ambassador and a doyen of international trade and finance education in Africa. Dr. Ayemibo, good afternoon. Happy New Year. It's good to see you.
Same to you. Good to hear from you again.
Yes, you listened to my introduction, and I started with the leather industry in particular. But I think I would allow you take us through an overview of what's been happening in our non-oil export segment of the economy. We always talk about government wanting to make more money from this space. But how open is that market? How well are we tapping into this market considering the challenges that we still face?
You know, I will remain optimistic. I remain optimistic because the opportunity that's huge for us to ignore, and I understand also some of the challenges that government face from time to time. But I mean, we'll try to keep up alive as much as possible, considering the opportunity available within this space. I'm looking forward to a much better year. Now we have a minister in place that seems to be very much keen on export, particularly AFCFTA in Africa. I've heard interview when the president went to France. I've heard some of the comments also made at different program and interviews on TV, and it seems as if she is favorably inclined towards export. So I'm hoping that we'll have a better year in terms of export. But so far, it's not looking nice as far as we will want it to be. If you still look at the data still shows that non-oil export is still hovering around Q1 about 9%, Q2 about 10%, Q3 about 12%. Seems to be some slight increase in the non-oil export contribution to total export in the country, but it's still very small compared to where we really want to be. But maybe in the course of conversation, we'll talk about the outlook of what I foresee is happening in the new year based on some of the things that have been done this year. And of course, like you said about AFCFTA also, since the time the initial, usually informed fair, the guided trade initiative, we've not seen a lot happening afterwards. So what I'm not sure of is, of course, that will not be done with a lot of funfair again, but the data available from MBS, it's not, maybe by the end of the year, I mean, by February, we should be able to see the Q4 of 2024 data and be able to know what eventually happened in terms of non-oil exports to Africa. Is it growing after the launch in July of guided trade, or is it coming down? That data will reveal that to us. But generally, I'm looking forward to a lot better year, considering the fact that we have a new minister at the saddle.
Well, when we look at issues around the minister coming in, yes, saying the right words, many will talk about policy support. What sort of policy support are you expecting from government? Value addition is also on one side. Now, I'm still staying with the leather space. We are still going to look at the agro space. We are still going to look at fashion, tourism. There's a lot of a lot of opportunities in the non-oil sector that we are yet to tap into. So when you look at this, and of course, global partnerships that we expect in 2025, what sort of conversation are you expecting, Dr. Anyemibo?
Now, on policy, government is all about policy. In fact, I did a video some time ago about the policy area I think should be considered, and I actually sent it to the minister, and she acknowledged, actually, and she said she will look at it. What I'm going to say is that I'm hoping that we will have a policy around about 10 areas I have personally identified that, look, if we are going to be able to grow non-oil exports in Nigeria, we need to focus on our policy around 10 areas. Number one is preparing new exporter for export or intended exporter for export. Because when you look at export per capita in Nigeria compared to other African countries, we are very small. I mean, do you know, Tolu, that Nigerian total exporters, non-registered though, active exporters, are not up to 1,500. According to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council, they are not my view, they are from the government. In a country that have over 200 million people with over, I think is it 39 or 40 million SMEs that are businesses according to the to government.
That is not a pass mark.
Do you understand? So we have exactly what it takes in terms of numbers of businesses, but not every business is export ready. A lot of businesses are not export ready. So because a lot of businesses are not export ready, they need to be made ready. They need to be made ready. So if we don't have a deliberate policy that will help us to be able to ensure that we, to a very, very large extent, we are able to increase the number of exports, meaning the policy is geared towards preparing SME for export. As in a deliberate policy of government preparing SME for export. I'm looking forward to us being able to do that. If we're able to do that, because, look at what is happening, Tolu. Nigerian businesses that are the big guys that are pulling the numbers, they have a challenge. Many of them are getting to their peak, and they are not doing a lot of new investment to increase the number of exports or the volume of exports. So maybe they do $1 million or $1.2 million or $5 million. And that's what they've done. If you check their data in the last 2-3 years, that's all they've done. Now, the implication of that is that if you don't get new people coming in, new businesses coming in, we are not likely going to grow the non-oil export volume. So that's why government must have a very, very direct and deliberate policy to increase the number of exporters in Nigeria. In fact, I strongly believe if government take that up and we're able to increase the number of exporters in Nigeria, it's going to help us a great deal to push up those numbers. But to be able to do that, there must be a deliberate policy on preparing SME for export, particularly SME that is adding value. Number two, promotion. In Nigeria, we have Japan Export Promotion Agency is in Nigeria. What is it doing? Promoting export of Japan into Nigeria. And you have a number of other countries like that from their embassy seeing how to connect their businesses, their country to businesses here. We need a deliberate policy on promotion of trade, meaning all our embassy must have a desk for trade, It must be a deliberate policy that the government wants to pursue so that if I want to export to Thailand, I should be able to pick up the phone or through email, send a mail to the export desk of Nigeria embassy in Thailand, and I will get information that will help me to be able to take a decision. So there are a different areas. Like I said, I have about 10 different areas that maybe we'll discuss another time because of time, another thing you want to talk about, of policy area the government must pursue if indeed we want to grow non-oil export in the country.
Indeed. I'm talking to an export doctor, so I expect all of that. There must be those policy initiatives. Now, let's go to the agricultural sector. Now, from my research, we are the largest producer of cassava. If that is still true, and I know that is true.
Very correct.
And fourth producer of cocoa globally. That's significant. Why are we not also taking advantage of this? I want you to also help. What sort of government incentives, what can we do to enjoy the benefits of this God-given resource that we have?
We are going back to the policy. Now, let's look at cassava, for example.
Yes, please.
Cassava product. We are the largest exporter, but Thailand is the largest exporter of cassava product. Even though we are the largest producer of cassava. Now, one of the challenges with production of agricultural commodity in Nigeria is the yield per hectare. Our cost of production is very high because our yield per hectare is very low as a result of technology that we are using, as a result of seedlings that we are using, as a result of infrastructural challenges that also increase the cost of production. So a deliberate policy of government, not just to increase the volume we are producing, because sometimes you hear government want to increase the volume, want to produce this volume of, it's not enough to produce the volume, it's also enough to produce it efficiently in a way that we will be able to buy it cheaper. That we produce larger volume does not mean it to be cheaper. It might be cheaper in Nigeria compared to what price used to be, but cheaper compared to other countries that we are going to be competing with in the international market. They are going to compete in the international market. So a deliberate policy that government needs to put in place to improve efficiency of production, boosting production and supporting value addition, because we're going to go to, you don't get to see a lot of demand for raw cassava. You see cassava in terms of cassava flakes or cassava starch or cassava flour or cassava, different form, even the gari. So you see in that demand, meaning we are going back again to processing, agro-processing. So we still need to bring down the cost of production. We still need to support them with power or gas. We still need to support them with infrastructure that will make them to be able to export, produce efficiently, cost-effective, and be able to export those things in a way that will be, at the end of the day, profitable to them. So that's the challenge we are having. So still coming back to those policies I talk about, that we be able to guide and help production. And when you look at the total volume of, total trade volume in the world, about 25 trillion. About 50 to 60% is intermediate or secondary to tertiary production level, not primary. Primary export is just about 20%. So if we are going to tap into that $24 trillion in export, we need to begin to add value. Either do it at intermediate. By intermediate, I mean you are moving cocoa to cocoa butter, you're moving from shea nut to shea butter, you are moving from lead ore to lead ingot, rather than exporting and lithium ore to lithium ingot. So intermediate form before it goes to the final, in which you use for the whatever manufacturing and whatever it is being used for at the end of the day. So we're still coming back to the policy, but this time around policy that will support production of those primary products in an efficient manner, so that we are cost effective in the international market.
Now, we're still having this back and forth with regards to expanding production capacity, improving supply chain logistics and all of that in country. But we have the AFCFTA, which is an agreement signed that everyone expects to impact us positively. So where are we with regards to this? For me, I thought we'll already be tapping into this large market, talking about the opportunities in that market. You know, the back and forth that we had even with our manufacturers before we could put pen to paper. Where are we with regards to that? And how soon, Dr. Yemibo, would we start to reap from this positives from this?
We can start to reap from this year if we do just one thing: increase awareness on the protocols of AFCFTA, increase awareness on the existence of AFCFTA, the fact that this agreement is in existence, increase awareness on the potential opportunity of AFCFTA, increase awareness on the paperwork involved in taking advantage of AFCFTA, increase awareness on the product we need to focus on to export under AFCFTA. If you look at all I've said, is awareness, and which is why we must commend what TDC is doing in talking about this from time to time. We need to increase that awareness in such a way that, you know the way when we want to do governorship election, presidential election, you will know the candidate, at least the major contending candidate, because of publicity that media give them on social media, on conventional media, on newspaper, everywhere. If we don't increase that kind of awareness, because this issue of awareness, it's not just Africa. If you go to Europe, Asia, America, they also don't have 100% participation. Some even 30, 40, 50% because of awareness. Some people don't even know it exists. Some know it exists. They don't have information on how to go about it. We need that awareness. It needs to be done in a way aggressively, so that people will begin to become, oh, this is a possibility. Then they can begin to look at it. Particularly people that are already comfortable, they are doing other businesses, they are producing and selling locally, but they could sell in Ghana, they could sell in Kenya, they could sell in Morocco, they could sell in Egypt, but they're not looking at it because they're not even aware of how to go about it. We need to increase that awareness. As it is right now, until I see the data of Q4, I won't be able to say if the launch in July, I think it was June, July, August, around, I think July last year of Guaranteed Initiative, I won't be able to say if it has contributed to increase. That's if you compare export to African countries between July and December in 2023 and 2024, to be able to say, okay, oh, it seems there is an increase, and this might be attributed to the fact that we are now signed on to, or participating in the in trade within Africa under AFCFTA. Maybe that will make us be able to understand that when MBF releases in February, but until then, I won't be able to say much, because I know a number of exporters, but not many of them is telling me they're exporting to Africa under AFCFTA. Many of them are looking at Europe and Asia, and that's why I said we need more awareness, particularly for other manufacturers. And by the way, if we are going to do it well, any product that will be traded under AFCFTA should be secondary or tertiary. Majority secondary or tertiary. Why? Many African countries, if you look at the competitiveness index, Nigeria is better than 15. We are number 14, 15. We are better than about 15 countries. Even in West Africa, we are still better than about 10 countries in terms of competitiveness index. That tells you how terrible a number of African countries are in terms of competitiveness. Meaning, many of them will not be able to produce efficiently. Many of them will not be buying raw materials. Many of them are buying finished goods. And if we talk about finished goods that they will be buying, we should be focusing on fast-moving consumer goods, because there is a big challenge with purchasing power in Africa. People don't have enough disposable income, so they spend more money on what they need to survive. What they need to survive, from drugs, pharmaceuticals, to processed food, and those basic stuff that human beings need to survive are what we are going to be able to take. And personal care products will be able to sell effectively on the African continent.
Talking export with you, but before I let you go, that same question I always ask every time. Documentation, standardization, where are we with regards to all of this too? Because our goods, our products must be at par with international peers. We should see them on shelves internationally, not just here. So are we also getting there with regards to that packaging and all of that?
Talking about outlook for quality in the new year, I expect that we should have less rejection this year. NAFDAC have created a lot of awareness and put some measure in place to ensure that any product leaving Nigeria have the minimum NAFDAC requirement. And even some will have to even be tested before they eventually leave. So I foresee a situation where this new year we will be having less issue with quality. I hope NAFDAC is able to sustain what they said, so that we will begin to have less issue with quality and rejection as far as export of Nigerian products or commodities are concerned.
I must thank you so much, Dr. Bamidele Ayemibo, Lead Consultant and Chief Executive Officer, 3T Impex Trade Academy, 3T Impex Consulting Limited. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful 2025. We'll see you soon again to have this chat, of course, as usual, to see updates in the industry.
Same to you. Have a fulfilled and glorious year. Bye-bye.